Well, good evening, guys. I'm beginning the start of this video. This is going to show you the actual physical install that we did on the speakers. Doesn't show the speakers actually going in, but it does show step by step some of the stuff we did to put it together. Now, the main point of this actual install, we did the front doors already, and we matted the driver, passenger, front, and rear doors. I didn't really show much of the matting afterwards on this run, but the whole idea behind this is to try to keep the stock amplifier. Basically, I was trying to upgrade the speakers themselves to get rid of some of the high-pitched noise and so forth. Now, you saw I used QSS65s. They're the kickers. Very nice speakers, very high-end speakers. Usually go for about $450 for a pair. They come with their own crossover, which I did use. It ends up using two pairs, one in the front, one in the rear. I then used a Kicker CS series for a center speaker. It's a 3.5 inch. I would like to make something bigger, but it looks like it's going to be a little rough, so that may not happen. And in the rear, I used a midline. I can't remember which subwoofer it was. I'll look it up and I'll get the information later on. But most important thing is that it is a significantly better subwoofer than what's in there. And it is the mid upper line of the Kicker series, the only one I could get at the time. So we're going to start the videos. You're going to hear me say and hear, go and so forth. I'm doing that mostly so I know when to time the videos when putting the video together. Excuse me. I'm going to show you how some of the stuff came apart and give you opinions on what was involved in taking it apart. The whole idea, again, was to not have to change the amplifier at this point. So, first we're going to bring out the first video that we're going to play right now. And it's first video, and I'm going to double-click it, and go. Hold on a second. Oh, I just totally messed this whole thing up. I had the volume up. All right, basically, what we're showing now is the first is the passenger side panel in the rear. Basically, we did this the wrong way at first. We first tried to pull off the side panel before we pulled down the floor panel. As you can see, that's the floor panel right there. And kind of messed that up. My mistake. And in the next video, we'll hopefully be able to show you the correct way to do it. And here we go. There's the side panel pulled out a little more. You see it's just mostly big clips that clip onto the side of the car. They're really not all that hard to pull out. It's mostly like a giant Lego is what's involved in this whole thing. And there's the floor panel down there. That's something you're going to have to pull out. Why I have two of the same video? It looks like the same video twice. Kind of messed it up. But it does take some elbow grease to pull these things out, so you do have to keep that in mind. So, it may take a little tougher for you to pull apart when you do it. Next, we're going to show you the side again, and we go. This is what it looks like with the bottom panel out, and if you look there, you'll see right there is a bolt that connects that side panel. You have to take that bolt out in order to pull that full side panel out, otherwise you're going to break it. Obviously, you have to take the floor part off first. So you do that, you pull the side panel, and that'll take care of that. Do apologize, this is kind of a weird way to do this, but it's the easiest way for me to figure it out. In this video, go. I'm going to pull the bottom panel. This is me just pulling it right out. As you'll see, when you take it out, the clips will sometimes come out and stay in the car. Kind of bad filming, of course, but everything's always bad filming. You see, there's the clips. As you can see, they don't easily break because if you look at it closer, you see they slide in. So they can slide right out and be slid right back in. And I will probably aim the video here and there. You can see the clip is still in there. You just got to pull that clip out with a tool. Once you get all of this pulled out, it makes it much easier to take. You'll look down in here and you'll see the bolt down there that holds that side plastic piece. You take that bolt out, and then you'll be able to pull the entire piece right on out. It'll be very simple at that point. And that's the end of that video. I do apologize for how, kind of robotic this thing is. At this point, we're going to see the side panel removed. And here we go. Side panel, we're pulling it right now. We have the bolt out. We just yank it out, and boom, there it goes. And of course, it takes takes some of the edging off. But basically, that's the side panel right there. Now, you notice there are little black things on there. Those little black things, I believe that was put on by the dealer for sound suppression, for any rattling that might have been going on in the car. So you may not have that in your car. Now, all of this is good for a EX as well as the Touring, and probably even the LX if necessary. It's going to be pretty much basically the same when dealing with a video. But I think that's what those parts are right there. Next, when we pulled that thing off over on the passenger side, we found something very interesting. Here we go. And it looks like that is I think that is the tuner for the radio. I believe that is your high-definition tuner. It's right there on the side. So any of those needed to know where your high-definition tuner for your radio is, it's right there. It might be the XM tuner, but I'm not entirely sure. Next video, we're going to show pulling off the upper corner pieces. Both sides are basically the same. If I remember correctly, there's basically two main pieces. One that's big, it goes all the way down to the back of the glass. It goes on the side, and then it goes down the back of the glass, and then there's another part that's a little further below it. So we're going to run it now. And there we go, popping out. That's the main piece. Up there at the top of his hand, that's a metal pin up there. Now, you do need to get your tool under there to pop it out. But it's all popped. There is nothing else but clips in there. Be careful with your clipping, but you can pull it right out, one right after the other. It's not too difficult. It takes a little bit of elbow grease. But again, use your tool. Pop. See, it pops right open and pulls right out. And you see some of the clips stayed in there. There's green little things. Those are the clips, and that's the airbag hidden behind there, rolled up behind there. And that's the part out. Not too hard. The next part is really basically a joke. It doesn't even, it just kind of just sits in there. Basically, boom, you take it out. And you lay it down on the ground, and boom, there's the whole side. You do that for both sides, and then you're all done, and you've got all the parts off. Now, we were talking, a lot of people talking, they're worried about doing the back deck. It is a lot more involved. We're not going to sit here and lie about that. It is a lot more involved, but it's mostly 4 bolts and a bunch of clips. And if you're careful and you use tools, you won't bust it. It was actually pretty easy. Putting it back together was a little bit more difficult, mostly because we had to use a lot of foam in the back deck to cut down on the damn rattling. There's going to be a lot of rattling. I had to tell you about that. In this next clip, I'm going to show you about how easy it is to remove the seatbelts. You don't actually have to take seatbelts out. They have little slots, so you can slide them right out. So, go. As you can see here, basically, that's the back deck. And there's one of the seatbelts. The center one's the same. It's got a little slot. You just kind of slide it through the slot and pull it underneath. As you can see, the first time I kind of screwed it up and it popped right back up. Nope, no good. Nope, get it under. And boom. That's all there is to it. Very easy. And that gets it completely out of the way. And then you're basically done. Sorry about how messy the video is, but, you know, trying to get some videos up there so you guys could look at it. Next, I'm going to show you where the bolts are. I'm going to show you one side where one of the bolts is for the back deck. The back deck lid has a bolt on each side. I believe it's right at the seat belt. That's the one you're going to want to deal with. And the beginning removal of the back deck. So we're going to click that and go. That's the bolt right there. I believe it's a 10 millimeter. Might be an 8 millimeter. And that's where the bolt goes. See, it's right there by the seat belt. It's like that on both sides. Very simple. Take those 2 bolts out, and then you can start unclicking it. Now, as you can see here, he pops it out. Not a big deal. You'll see I I decided I'm going to be a tough man. I'm going to go ahead and stick my hand in there, and it showed a lot of resistance, so I got a little nervous. Basically, it was just a clip. You put something under there and pry it. You don't want to pull too hard. You want to make sure you don't end up breaking the plastic. Good news is our cars are new. The plastic's very, very pliable, so it's not going to really break all that much. Basically, it's just a big piece of plastic with a lot of clips. Not hard. Again, I'm sorry I keep looking up and I'm closing windows and moving them back and forth. I'm really not really cool at this. Now, we made the first mistake while working on this. When you are taking the back deck out, you have to unplug the tweeters. The tweeters are actually connected to the actual deck itself. So when you lift the deck out, you're pulling the tweeters out at the same time, and you'll end up pulling the wires for the tweeters, which is a pain in the butt. So you got to make sure you undo it. Now you're going to watch us kind of screwing that up and then unhooking the tweeters. So here we go, and on. We got it pretty much unhooked. Everything's pretty much unclipped. You pretty much put your hands way under there and pop them. Or you can take a tool, pop it up. It's not hard. You just got to show a little bit elbow grease. Here you're taking out another seatbelt. Very simple design. Again, it's made for simplicity. Cheapness. Cheapness without being cheap. Let's put it that way. So here we are. We're all studly and ready. We're going to pull out this back area, and it's coming out. Yeah, it's doing well. And suddenly my friend over here, he says, "Ooh, gross." And I said, "What's wrong?" I thought maybe something dead under there. And he said, "No, the tweeters are still hooked up, and the tweeters are coming out at the same time." So he says, "I got to go, and then we got to unhook the tweeters." So he goes underneath. So me, about as quickly as a fat Jewish dude can do, is I move under there to show you the unhook of the tweeters. So you can see they use different connectors. There are no adapters for the connectors. I'm going to tell you a way to get around that without causing too much damage to your car. He unhooked the regular speakers, not necessary, but they're going to have to be unhooked anyway eventually, so he went ahead and did that. There the tweeters are unhooked. And then I get my big fat form around. I go around, and here we go. We're going to take a look over here, and we're going to start pulling out the entire thing. Now, one of the things we were concerned about is there, you can get a good look. That's the subwoofer. That's the main driver, and the tweeter is up top. One of the things we were worried about, there goes my nose again. One of the things we were worried about was the rear light. But no, the rear light is actually hooked from underneath, so you don't have to unhook anything. There's really nothing to unhook except what I've just told you. That's the subwoofer. That's one of the main drivers. They're the same in the front and the back. Should be the same in the EX as well. These would be the same thing, except you won't have the center sub. I guess you could cut a hole and put a center sub there if you want to. So there it is. We've got the whole thing off. Taking a look at what we got there. Very nice. Very nice. Pretty cool design. I used my old speaker rings for the new... I used those speaker rings for the... new speakers. They were the wrong ones, like I said before in an earlier video. Didn't make any difference. Just involved drilling 2 more holes, with metal screws. Not a big deal. It's a back deck. Nobody's going to see it. Who gives a crap? And it works. It holds the speakers just fine. So that's the back deck totally off. Close that video. And I'm sorry if I narrate again. That's so it makes it easier for me to put this together. Next, we're going to show you about removing the tweeters from the deck. Now, this is something very important when you buy this, when you buy a component set or tweeters. The front, the tweeters were not a problem. In the back, the tweeters were much more of a problem because the tweeters are inlaid in like a little cubby inside that are held. Let's put it this way. The kicker tweeters don't fit in there, because they got their own face and all that, and the face wouldn't fit in there, and it was a pain in the butt. In the end, we ended up having to cut it and put it in there. I have no intention of ever changing the speakers back to the crap speakers. I intend to keep the car until I crash it or until I drop dead and someone else sells it or whatever. Unless this car turns out to be a total lemon out of the blue, I'm keeping this car. So here we're going to show you the removal of the tweeters from the deck, and go. That's the tweeters. You see how they're inlaid inside the deck. So you got to make sure, you might want to go with 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch tweeters to make sure that you can slide them in if you don't want to have to do any extra work. Then you can just glue them in there easily. Here, basically, they pick out like the other ones. You pop them out. Nice, heavy, crappy. But you see there's a lip on there. And we ended up cutting that lip. We ended up burning it off and then hot gluing it. I'll show you what it looks like hot glued before. That's the end of that video, and that shows the tweeters. The same tweeters that were in the front. For the EX, your tweeters are going to look a little different. They're going to be a little lower end. I have a bunch of extra tweeters. Who knows? Maybe somebody real nice. Maybe you can have some of my tweeters, and you can trade out your old tweeters for these. These things are very bright. Way too bright. What do we got next? All right. Now we're going to have a quick view of the rear deck as we start removing the speakers. The speakers aren't going to come out. We're going to show you taking out the bolts. The bolts are 8mm and 10mm respectively. 8mm are for the main drivers, and the 10mm are for the subwoofer. Again, EX, all you're going to have to deal with are the 8 millimeters. Not all that many bolts. This just gives you a good view of what the wiring looks like in there. See, there's one bolt there for the main driver. The subwoofer has 4 10 millimeter bolts. Very easy to take out. Just need a ratchet set. It's not a big deal. And they'll come right out. Basically, they're not really all that difficult to remove. I guess this is kind of an extended view. Take a good look. Give you an idea what it looks like. Who knows? As I said, for some of you EX owners who don't want to put a sub in the trunk, you can probably cut a hole there and put another sub. In fact, I don't know what it looks like underneath for the EX. I wonder if it might even have a template hole that's big enough to make you think what size to put in there. Obviously, there is no mount for the subwoofer that I had to put in there. We basically screwed the subwoofer directly into it. There are no adapters for the subwoofer. So there's really not much we can do about that. My nose. I'm having another nose problem. More anal erotica for you guys. You're not going to see it because the video is playing right now. That little handle right there is the emergency release for the trunk. That's in all the Hondas. I'm back again. Boy, is it hot in here. Boy, the computer heats up the room. But that's the end of that video. Just shows you taking them off. I believe I have another look at it from underneath and from behind. And go. This is from behind as he's taking out. As he's trying to take out, but his aim sucks, apparently. I already have the bolt out of that one. Basically, it's one bolt. That's what they look like underneath. Pretty similar, simple designs, easy to pull out. Really not much to it. It's really very easy, guys. Even I could do it. Pretty scary. If even I might be able to do it, then anybody on the planet could do it. Next, I'm going to give you a quick video to show you what the actual sub looks like. Go. There it is. It's a little paper, garbage little sub, and I was rather shocked at how much sound it actually put out. It's amazing what you can do with computers and automatic noise canceling systems. That sub was, well, it weighs less than the tweeter. It's really beyond belief what they can do with these scientific stuff. It's really incredible. Next, I'm going to show you what the whole deck looks like before you put any matting in there, and so forth. Let's see. Excuse me, still got a little bit of a cough. And here we go. There it is. Everything is out. We're getting ready to... We're probably unhooking a lot of these wires so we can put some matting in there. Didn't put too much matting in there, but enough, mostly around the holes and in certain strategic areas to keep any vibrations down. Sorry, it's not a very long video. I was kind of, limited in how much time I could do with this. Now, I'm going to try to put this on the screen. Few people on the forums had mentioned something that when they were trying to do the speakers, one thing I forgot to tell them is that there is no harness for the tweeters. The tweeters, basically, you have to cut. Well, there is a way to do it without actually cutting the tips off, and most people don't want to cut the tips off. It's called a military splicing tape. I am going to put I'm going to probably put it on the screen at some point here. I'm going to put it on there on how it's done. This video, and we're going to start the video now. This video basically shows you what it looks like. Basically, you splice into the middle of the actual line. Basically, you take some wire strippers, you strip it open a little, then you take a pick, you poke between the wires, the copper wires inside, make a little hole, then you stick the line in, wrap it around, and then tape it up, and there you go. You got a reconnection without cutting off that tip. I'm going to link you to a video I found online that shows you exactly how to do it. He was just explaining what it was and how it's done. There you get a beautiful shot of his hand. What a lovely hand. And basically, you don't have to cut those tips off. So that way, you can always go back to them. You can take the other splice and dice that you did earlier out in the future and basically make it as close to stock in the future if you ever need to, or if they ever come out with adapters, which are nicer to have. Yes? I'd rather have adapters myself, too. Next, we're going to show you what it looks like with the speakers and the matting in. And here we go. There we go. We got the dynamatting or ballistic matting in, and we got the speakers. Those are the kickers. Big kicker sub, and my kicker QSs. Those are just the drivers themselves. They're pretty big. Any higher, and they would have stuck out too much. Now the kicker, we had to screw in with we could only do 6 of the screws out of the 8. The other 2 would just go through, the way it matched. There were too many holes in the metal. And of course, he put ballistic underneath it to keep it from rattling, and it has its own anti-rattle. And we did a lot of other stuff to avoid rattling, and so forth. But that's basically what it looks like underneath there now, with the matting and so forth, to try to cut down on the rattling, because rattling is a big thing. Oh my God, we're up to 20 minutes. So I'm going to have to break this down into another video. We're going to finish up the install visuals here. Next, we're going to show you, there are 2 videos. First, going to show you an internal, inside what it looks like when he glued, go. That's the tweeter, right there. He glued it right on top. This is before we decided to actually cut the plastic. You'll see where it's glued on top, it's hot glued. There was actually plastic underneath. We decided to cut that down a little bit so we could get it closer. I didn't want it sticking down because it was very tight in there, and I didn't want the back of the tweeter pushing against the metal. Why take the risk? And that was before we did that. That was the first install. This is a closer view of the first install. I didn't see any reason to show you, and go. This is what it looks like outside. Just to give you an idea. It really doesn't show much definition, but basically, you have to stick them on there, or you're going to have to get ones that are like 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch to make sure they fit in there. Mainly, it has to do with the design of whatever tweeter you buy, because these are actually 1-inch tweeters and they should fit. The problem is the kicker has their face on it. Face literally that says kicker. That stuff doesn't come off, and what are you going to do, right? What can you do? So putting in the back panel was very easy. I didn't film the second day, where what they did is we bought a lot of refrigerator foam. Basically, not really refrigerator foam, but they're actually air conditioning foam, like you use to fill in for your air conditioners. I put a lot of that on the outer edge tips of the rear deck, because the rear deck will rattle, and it still has a little bit of rattle here and there. We're going to be working on that afterwards, but it's pretty much rattle-free right now. So we didn't show you putting the deck in, because basically you just slide the deck in, you bang it down to get the clips connected in. Really very simple. And then you hook the 2 bolts on the left and the right, and that's basically it. I'm going to show you inserting the sides. Generally, you want to put the big piece on first. On the top edge, it goes all the way down to the back glass. After that, then you're going to want to put that little tiny piece that hangs. Actually, it might be first. Let's see. Start the video now. All right, no, you put the small piece that hangs first. You see the plastic's already there. That little piece is hanging there. Then you take the big piece. It's all one big piece. Actually, on some of these pieces, there was some foam tape on it. Foamy tape, obviously done by the dealer before to help with my rattle. So you might have to put some foam in these areas here to stop with the rattling. My dealer had already done it. So you get that in. The next piece after you get all of these in, obviously, is going to be the long piece that goes down by the bottom of his arm right there. It's going to go down. That's the side piece, and then you'll put the bolt down near the bottom of the seat, and then you'll put the foot part, the black thing that goes down in the foot part, and that would do all the connection. I'm sorry I didn't film it all, but there was a limit to what I could do. And that is basically all the videos of the install itself. This video is up to 23:59. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video on that. It's installed. It's running. I'm going to make another video. It's going to be mostly talking, so you guys are going to be bored to death. But it's going to be mostly information to tell you the caveats and the things you got to watch out for, the problems I ran into and that I still have, and what I'm going to do about it, and whether this is a feasibility to do. All right? For now, this is Verdier out. It's good talking to you guys. I hope this stuff helps all you do-it-yourselfers. This is good for EX and touring owners. Obviously, you EX people aren't going to have the subwoofer. You're going to have to do your own subwoofer. But it works. It works well. And I'm going to get in the next video, I'm going to tell you what the problems might be. Okay? Take care, guys.